Right, we're back, and got a bit of a random selection of stuff I'm going to do. I've bought a mini Clarkson auto lock chuck. Same idea as other Clarkson chucks, only smaller. It's a mini chuck. That's the smallest Clarkson I previously had, with a custom turned tip to try and keep it less bulky. But we'll be able to get into tighter spots with this one. And we've got collets that go with it, imperial sizes, 1/4 and 3/8, metric sizes, 6mm and 10mm. They've got the little groove on them. So we're going to give them a bath and in paraffin, clean them up and have them ready to be used. So there's my paraffin bath, and this gets used and used again. This isn't going to take much doing, this one. But I've also got the Tom Senior tailstock for the dividing head, and that is a bit hacky. So I'll get the collets put through, and then I'll strip this down, put this through, clean this up. It's a handy thing to have, and I'll regrind the point on this. Yep, so it's an eBay score, as this Clarkson. It's come in a sort of an original box as well, which is surprising. So it's had a soak. We've just dried it out, and it looks pretty smart. So I'll probably wire wheel small components, but just blow out the larger ones, and then put a bit of the old anti-corrosion oil on. This particular Clarkson chuck comes in MT at 1, 2 and 3, and then that's it. Okay, these are small pieces, so I've got the small wire wheel going on. Okay, and so on and so forth, making sure I don't wire wheel my fingers. Literally the noisiest electric drill in the world. Okay, so that's nice and clean. A little bit of ACF 50. 4 more to go. 3 more to go. The brass brush, by the way, is part of a set. We've got brass, nylon and steel, and that's just from Machine Mart. So amazing how often I use that. Right, so there we go. We've got a Morse taper 1 and Morse taper 2, mini Clarkson auto lock there. Good to go. Brilliant. So there's my head. It's not seen much action, none of these have won over at all. It's keyed on the bottom, so I'm just going to strip the whole thing to pieces and then just give it a general tidy out. I'll just drift that out. Okay, good. It's all horrible and grotty, and so I just soak this in the paraffin and let it all soften up. I've had a not very productive time recently, but there's been a number of little jobs that I've done. I've put a new belt drive on my M1, so I'll show that. I put a new oil sight on my M1. So there's the main spindle. Perfect pattern screwdriver, which I've ground and then knobbled. Ooh. It's nasty. Got it. Okay. That might be pinned on there. We'll find out. No, that's not pinned. It's just a good tight fit. Just get a fine drift, and we'll see if we can drift that there. So that's just adjusted for a good central position. Right, brilliant. We'll soak all of that in a minute. Okay, so the basic idea here is any piece of kit that comes in the shed is going to be in better condition as it goes through my hands. I'm going to look after it. I get to learn how it all works by disassembling it and refettling it. And down on the base here, we're just taking a flat stone, which hardly takes any off, but there's been a few dings around the edges and it's wallowed the edges over. So this will just bring it back into flatness. It's basically flattish. So there were a few high spots on the corners. It just feels nice around the edges now. Right. Okay, so we've got some brake cleaner under pressure. We'll just jet wash out these screw holes at the base. Just it's one of those dentist's blowers. It comes in very handy. Got cutting oil in there so I can get into a fine bore if I'm doing what have you. DW40, Smith & Allen, Darlington, and brake cleaner. Right, wonderful. I've just got the key here, and we're just knocking off high spots on the key. The key is numbered there, 41, and the part's numbered. So hey ho. So the base looks good. The key is in. And we're going to come back up to the top side now. I'm quite happy buying untidy bits and pieces, providing all the bits are there. I like cleaning them up anyway, and it generally means that whoever's got it is just wanting to turn it over. Right, so it's not like as it left the factory, but I've done factory restores before, and all that happens as I use things, they get starting looking a bit like this anyway, but it feels lovely and smooth and clean. This is the quill, and the point's been a bit nobbled, so it needs to be reground, but it's not on centre. Okay, so if I just put it in a grinder and ground like that, I'd be off. You can mount it in the forge or chuck, go end to end with another centre, but it is awkward because you've got this groove and it tends to want to, it takes a while to set up, let's put it this way. So what we've made is a holder with a key in it that fits the key for this, and an off-centre hole. And by using this little adapter, I'm not sure if it's loose at the moment, no it's not, which has got keys on the back, we can hold that part in the grinder or in the lathe. Okay, so that's now on centre. Alright, so I'm going to sit that, it doesn't need much tightening, that is blown tight already, in my lathe, in a collet holder, just because my grinder doesn't quite grind accurate centres. So I'll put a 60-degree tip on here using this holder, and we should be on centre. It looks about right, and if it looks right, it's probably wrong. Alright, well, my collet wasn't quite right, so it must be different between two different centres or what have you, but anyway, just taking a small scale, mounting it up so I get roughly centre, which will look about right there. And then I'm going to adjust it on the forge or using that to guide me. We've got a high there. Well, you know the game now. Fiddle around till you get it right. So a bit of fiddling, bit of tweaking, and round she goes. Okay, so we've taken a DTI, going forwards, backwards, find the highest spot of the centre of the point there. Once we know we're on centre, then we'll rotate the part. It's a more accurate way of trying to centre this up. I didn't clean the dial very well, did I? Well, we've set the top slide over to just under 30 degrees. Tighten it off, and we'll check that it follows the point. And then we'll rotate the part and check it follows the point. And then we'll make a few little adjustments, and then see if we can't true that up. Let's fire it up. Yeah, that's rotating pretty true. Okay, we'll start diving in then. Okay, I've adjusted the top slide out, got the angle correct. I'm cutting at the tip, cutting at the base evenly, and yeah, I've just hit the fast, slow to fast, and we'll start trimming down. Yep, sorry that you're on the microphone here. Audio went dead. Okay, so yeah, I've turned the microphone on now. It's a big stiff old machine, so when it gets to this intermittent cut, it's handled it very well. We'll try this back on. It seems to have a slightly different centre height to the others. You know, that should work just in a collet, but it hasn't. The mounting does make it easy to set up on the forejaw. It's a nice big chunk of stuff to get a hold of. Right, well, it's no biggie. We're not exactly on centre height. It's holding the ruler, but it's a bit low, is that centre. And if I compare it to another centre, okay, well, that's holding dead true. This is Jones and Shipman colours, this is Tom Senior colours. Really, these centres probably need to be matched to the head, because there will be variation in height. So there we go, these two dividing heads are coming together at a pretty good centre. I suspect that's just the dove grey Jones and Shipman version. This is Yorkshire green of Tom Senior. So, you know, Leicester versus up north Leeds. Right, fantastic. I'll put that collet chuck in, and we'll see how it works with these. So previously, one of the issues I've had when I've been using this dividing head, when I'm tight in, collet holder can foul here quite easily. Now you're blooming tight in, and that's quite a small diameter there, but you can see happily I've got pretty good clearance right up to the chuck. So I've got clearance now right up tight here. When I had my small collet chuck, my small ER chuck, it still was fouling. So this mini Clarkson collet chuck should be great in combination now with this this dividing head. So just for completeness, you know, you've got your 3-jaw, you've got your 4-jaw, it's a Morse taper 2 on the dividing head. You can also put a centre in and turn between centres as well. So quite a useful thing to have, and I'll get that tailstock just tinkered with and fettle it up a bit more. Smash in. Alright, so we've remounted in the lathe. I've mounted it so that I can move easily in this direction, so that I can get the centre moved upwards and keep it centred laterally. So I've packed the top so I'm not catching on that Allen key. Alright, but you can see that I'm taking it, I've blued the whole thing, I've got nothing coming off the top, and I'm cutting on the bottom, and I've moved the centre by about 30 thousandths. Alright, so work that in the lathe. It actually didn't take as long as I thought it was going to, and we're looking pretty good there. So I'll buy into that one. I'm a happy man. Right, so although it looked tatty, a relatively small amount of work has got this absolutely back to spot on function for me. I went down local and I bought a plane, a woodwork plane from Dave the Suit. Anyway, very shiny, you know, somebody's had it, polished it up so it looked fab, but flip side, when they're polishing it, it's not being polished flat, it's just being polished shiny. This, which is now relatively flat, very flat actually, took me about half a day to flatten out, and similarly flattening the back side of the blade and getting it decent sharp again took ages. So this looked very pretty, but the way it had been polished, what hadn't really suited it very well. It wasn't kind to the tool. I mean, it's now an absolute banger. It's a lovely thing. That old Tom Senior didn't look too great, but because it hadn't been touched and no one had mucked around with it, the bottom was still flat, everything still worked nice. Anyway, there we are. I don't think it's been made by any particular firm. It might be from a kit, or just the guy who, the tradesman who had it, made it, you know, who knows. Okay, well, we've got the centres done, so I'm happy with that. While I'm here at the Tom Senior, this oil level sight glass was absolutely jiggered, couldn't see through it. So I went to a local, well, I went to Sam Turner's, the farm people, bought a cheapo torch. The glass lens at the end was just the perfect size to fit in here, so I just put that in with an O-ring, tightened it on, and job's a good one. No leaking, and I can see my oil. While I was at it down here doing this, I noticed the drive belt to the gearbox was knackered, so I've replaced that with a Z39 belt. It's a bit of a faff. If you get the right belt, your door closes nice and comfortably, and if you get the wrong belt or put it on the wrong way, you're gadongered. Good stuff. Okay, yeah, that's me done. So thank you for watching. I'm out. Shed Guy gone.